stop telling me to just take a deep breath. Man, have you ever noticed how absolutely infuriating that advice is when you're genuinely stressed out? It's like the default copy and paste response for every frustrating moment in life. But let's be totally honest with each other here. It almost never actually works. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to completely dismantle that old cliche and look at the actual underlying mechanics of what really does work to bring us clarity.
Okay, picture this. It's 4:55 p.m. on a Friday. You know the feeling. I remember sitting at my desk, just ready to shut my brain off and finally start the weekend. And then a notification pings. It's a difficult client, and the message starts with those 4 aggressively passive words, per my last email. You instantly feel that sudden visceral heat rising in your chest, right? Your blood literally begins to boil. At that exact highly charged moment, telling yourself to just relax or breathe is practically an insult. Why? Because simply trying to relax just treats the physical symptom of feeling attacked. It completely ignores the blazing emotional fire happening in your mind.
Section 1. The myth of calming down and why traditional advice falls short. See, this standard advice fails because it totally misdiagnoses the problem. Our intense, boiling anger in these everyday moments, it doesn't just spontaneously generate out of thin air. It stems directly from a very deep, underlying belief that someone is doing something maliciously and directly to us. We feel targeted, and standard surface-level calming techniques are completely useless against a perceived threat to our ego or our safety. You can't simply breathe away an arrow that you believe is actively being aimed right at your chest.
Section 2. The empty boat. An ancient parable for modern stress. To fix this root cause, instead of just slapping a band-aid on the symptom, we need to look far beyond our digital inboxes to a story that perfectly bridges our incredibly frustrating modern lives with timeless wisdom.
Imagine you're rowing a small wooden boat across the vast, quiet lake. It's early morning, and there's this thick, blinding fog. You can barely see a few feet ahead of your own hands. Then, suddenly, bam! A violent, jarring crash. Another boat has slammed directly into yours. Instantly, the anger flares up. You grip your oars tight, your heart starts racing, and you open your mouth, ready to just scream at the careless, reckless idiot who wasn't watching where they were going. But then, the wind shifts. The fog parts just a little bit. You look closer. The other boat is completely empty. It just drifted on the current and bumped into you. Feel that? That immense physical wave of relief washing over you. Instantly, the blinding rage just vanishes. You don't yell at empty wood. You just gently push the boat away and you keep rowing.
Section 3. Happiness is a choice. Depersonalizing the universe. If you really step back and look at your life, most of the boats that violently crash into us, that incredibly rude email, the guy cutting you off in massive traffic, a sudden market crash that tanks your savings, most of these are actually empty boats. We automatically assume there's a malicious driver in those boats purposely trying to hurt us. But the anger doesn't come from the event or the crash itself. It comes purely from our internal judgment that someone did this to us.
We have this exhausting default human reaction where we think they did this to me. And when you live in that headspace, everything is a personal attack. You're constantly playing the victim, burning precious emotional energy, fighting phantoms in the fog. But there's a liberating choice here. The boat is empty. Happiness is a choice because you can actively choose to see every frustrating, chaotic event as an empty boat. When you finally realize the universe isn't personal, you instantly stop being a victim to circumstance. You push the obstacle aside and you choose to stay completely in your flow. Section 4. The Tea Master's Secret. Navigating the foggy lake. Now, recognizing an empty boat is a powerful mindset choice, sure. But what happens when the threat actually is real? How do you maintain that peaceful state of flow? Well, this is where we transition from a simple mindset choice to an active practice skill. And it's beautifully captured in the story of a devoted tea master who, through a terrible misunderstanding, was accidentally challenged to a duel to the death by a highly skilled, high-ranking samurai. Now, the tea master had absolutely no idea how to hold the sword. By all accounts, he was a dead man walking.
Utterly terrified, the tea master sought out a Zen monk for advice on what would surely be his final day, and the monk gave him this profound instruction. He told him, "Treat the sword like a tea whisk. Clear your mind of death and life. Just focus on the precision of the movement." When the terrifying moment of the duel finally arrived, the tea master stepped forward. He didn't know how to fight, but he did know how to pour tea with absolute perfection. So he drew his sword and stood there, so incredibly calm, with such absolute perfect stillness that the samurai stopped dead in his tracks. The samurai looked at the tea master and saw a man who had mastered his internal state so deeply, so profoundly, that he was utterly untouchable. Without a single strike being thrown, the samurai became terrified, bowed his head in deep respect, turned, and just walked away.
Section 5. Building the peace muscle, from abstract philosophy to tangible tool. We almost always think of peace as a passive thing, right? Like the mere absence of conflict. We think peace is just sitting quietly in a soft room where nothing bad is happening to us. But the Tea Master shows us that true peace is not passive at all. It's a highly trainable, intensely focused state. It's a tangible tool that you intentionally carry into the absolute worst chaos.
This brings us to the profound concept of Wu Wei. It's often translated as effortless action. But hey, don't let the word effortless trick you. It requires tremendous, repetitive training to achieve. Think about lifting physical weights. You wouldn't walk into a gym and expect to bench 400 pounds on your first day, right? And similarly, you can't walk into a highly stressful situation and just expect to magically be calm. You have to build your peace muscle. Practices like meditation, deep focus, and intentionally reframing those daily frustrating emails as empty boats. Those are your repetitions in the gym. You're training yourself to keep your internal frequency entirely stable, regardless of what the outside chaos is doing.
So, the crucial point is this: mastery of internal noise, maintaining a stable internal frequency, becoming untouchable by external chaos. Peace isn't some magical gift that a few lucky people are just born with. It's an active, deliberate skill. It's the absolute mastery of your internal noise. It's doing the daily reps to maintain a stable internal frequency so that when those foggy crashes happen, or when the proverbial samurai draws his sword, you remain utterly untouchable by external chaos. You're no longer reacting like a victim. You're observing, and you're moving with absolute precision.
The universe is full of sudden crashes, emails, traffic jams, sudden changes in your life's direction. But the reaction, the anger, that is entirely a choice. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave this hanging in the air for you to really think about. Are you ready to stop yelling at empty boats?
Subscribe for daily wisdom.